We're back. Looks like we're up and running, hopefully. It's so hard to tell sometimes. But Christmas is over. New Year's Eve. So welcome to the Colonel and the Kid podcast. I'm calling this episode 19, even though I don't think that's what number it is. It's episode 19 because it's chapter 19 of the Colonel and the Kid memoir. And this one's called The Vikings Football. And yes, I am your host, Greg Heitmann, but you probably knew that if you're listening. A little bit background again. I like to start with the background of the podcast. And this is a podcast based on the memoir I wrote to honor my grandfather. And my grandfather was Lieutenant Colonel Edwin P. Hagen Jr., and it was my mom's dad. And it's basically just a reflection on how his life influenced my life. I guess I could call him one of the OGs of influencing. Quite the title I just thought of right there. Amazing. But so anyway, like I said, this is New Year's Eve. So it's December 30th, 2025, about to get to 2026, which is pretty cool because it's the sesquicentennial. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but it's the 250th birthday coming up here in 2026. 250th birthday of the United States of America. So I'm really looking forward to all the red, white, and blue stuff and the fancy decorations and artwork and everything else. But especially, I guess what I've been following is what the U.S. Mint is going to do with the coins. They're going to have a bunch of commemorative coins, and if anybody's familiar with 1976, the 200th birthday of the United States. I'm pausing because it's hard for me to believe that I'm that old that I was alive during that time. And I remember just plain as day, those coins that came out and how just unusual it was to see a different quarter, a different back of the quarter and 50-cent piece. And it just seems so strange. And now, now it's 50 years later and I'm just like, I pause because it doesn't seem like I can be that old, yet I am. So anyway, back to the actual podcast, and I'm already strained from my notes and my schedule. It's pretty sad to just get off track very quickly. But anyway, December 30th, 2025, New Year's Eve. It's very exciting. And it's exciting because I'm going to be finishing up the 20 chapters associated with Volume 1 of the podcast. And I should say Volume 1 is available only on Kindle through Amazon. So you can get all the chapters that I've read, or, the 20 of the chapters that I've read or will be read. And I'm going to try to finish up the chapter 20 tomorrow. So we got chapter 19 today, chapter 20 tomorrow. That'll be the completion of the first volume. And I'm going to call that season 1 of the podcast. And then once I have the next volume, chapters 21 through 40, then we'll call that season 2 and go on from there. But it's very much a feeling of accomplishment for me to get this far, and when I get that done, to have completed that first volume, just something that I'm surprised I was able to do it and stick with and have enough dedication. I guess now that I'm retired, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Do I feel like doing anything? And does it become more work? Do I feel obligated to do it? It's like, oh my God, I got to do a podcast. No, it's fun. It's fun how I just sit here and talk to myself. I do have a couple of special edition chapters in the podcast where I'm talking to a guest. And most recently, you may have seen that one. I talked to my younger brother and his son, my nephew AJ, and Garrett. Garrett's my brother. And so we had like a 2-hour long discussion about NFL football. mostly football. There was a couple other things in there, but that went completely off the rails. And I'm probably going to be canceled. I mean, if I ever was actually in existence, they're going to bring me back and cancel me some more, or bring me into existence and cancel me. Or if I was if I did exist, I will be canceled. And then they might bring me back from the cancellation and cancel me again, because there was a lot of stuff that was super funny in that. And of course, nowadays there's no humor. So if you're funny, you're going to be canceled immediately. So there's that. So look for me on the internet for just a few seconds, milliseconds, and then I will be canceled. And that'll be it. But if not, maybe I'll be here in the future too, doing this podcast. Never know. You just don't know what the future holds. So anyway, again, if I didn't say it, I'm Greg Heitmann, the host of the podcast. And the podcast is based, it's the spine of the podcast is the memoir of my grandfather, the Colonel, and I'm the Kid, the Colonel and the Kid podcast. That's the name. And that makes sense because that's the name of the memoir, the Colonel and the Kid, a memoir. But most of all, the memoir became my psychotherapy, and the podcast has become even more psychotherapy because I could just drone on about all the things I want to complain about, and just have, I guess, stream of consciousness. And eventually something will make sense. Something funny will happen. I'll say something funny, and it'll be recorded for posterity. It's amazing how that works. And then eventually, probably lost to history, because I'm not sure how I'm not sure what happens to this stuff. I guess it'll exist on YouTube forever, possibly. I don't know. But I don't know about the rest of the podcast stuff. If I cancel my subscriptions for other things, if the podcast just goes away there. But that it's interesting, because I think maybe that'll be, I guess, hopefully it'll forever live on YouTube videos then. So I really don't know how that works. If just the audio portion that I have to curate on other servers, I guess, how that works. But I think the YouTube videos will last forever, because they're uploaded onto theirs, and they can be accessible to anybody at any time. And I don't think they're taken down unless I take them down. So I don't know. Guess we'll find out eventually. So anyway, this is going to be the electronic video record and audio record of the podcast. And today we're going to do chapter 19 of the memoir, which is the Vikings football. And it's very appropriate because we're at the final week of the NFL. Excuse me. And this is week 18 of the 17-game season for each team. Each team gets a bye, so there's 18 weeks. 17 games plus a bye, so it's a total of 18 weeks of regular season football for the NFL. And this is the final week. So I'm not going to do any picks today. I'm going to check with Garrett and AJ and see if they want to get together, do a podcast tomorrow, go over our picks last week, and then have a final comment before the playoffs, or for the final week of the season, then start the playoffs. Or if they don't want to, maybe we'll just wait and maybe have a conversation when the playoffs start. We'll see what happens. But I'm doing a podcast either way tomorrow for chapter 20. And there might be 2 podcasts if we do the football picks, and then I'll do a separate reading of the chapter. And that'll probably be the only thing, just the chapter itself. Because today we have the chapter, and then we have some other recurring segments. And I think we'll just go ahead and get going, because I'm gonna probably keep this one shorter, because I'll do work on it tomorrow. And once I get the podcast ready to go or recorded, then I have to do all this other stuff to fix it up, fix the audio. I think they use the magic audio to make the sound better from my end anyway, which is weird because I don't know. I have a microphone right here, and it doesn't seem like it really does that good a job, because comparing the audio from Garrett and AJ's podcasting event last week, their audio seemed perfectly fine. if not better than my microphone audio. Anyway, there's work to do even after I get it recorded. This is the easy part, just sitting here and talking. Now I have to, once I'm done, then I got to put the photos in and fix the audio, put the intro and outro in. It's a pain in the butt, but it's worth it in the long run because it all come together. So anyway, I'm going to read the chapter. So again, very appropriate chapter. This is the Vikings football, chapter 19 from the memoir. So chapter 19, the Vikings football. And as always, we start with a quote. And this is a very popular quote. Quote, "There's always next year," end quote. And that's a quote from every Minnesota Vikings fan in the world because, well, As I write this, we are at the tail end of the 2020 Minnesota Vikings football season. And I add parenthetically, at the New Year's Eve, so December 30th, 2025. So it's been 5 years since I've written this actual memoir, which just boggles my mind that I've, piddled around and wasted 5 years not getting this up to speed and published and then into the podcast realm and everything else. But anyway, here we are 5 years later. So to continue to the chapter. As per usual, the Vikes have a mediocre 6 wins and 6 losses for their record. They are on the borderline for making the playoffs. We are Vikings fans in my family, unfortunately. It's been a lifelong disappointment cheering for the purple and gold, having never won a Super Bowl, yet we remain undeterred fans. My younger brother Garrett is now the steward for what has to be one of the top treasures a Vikings fan could lay hands on, an official Minnesota Vikings game-used football. It is an old-time, the Duke version of the NFL's official football made by Wilson Sporting Goods. I plowed through the internet trying to find out more about the NFL football. Interestingly, it is the Duke, which is stamped into the leather in honor of Wellington Mara, the longtime owner of the New York Giants, who was named after the Duke of Wellington. The Duke was the official football from 1941 to 1970. Apparently, George Halas, owner of the Chicago Bears, was urged to reward the Mara family for their contracting efforts with Wilson Sporting Goods as the official supplier of NFL footballs. When the NFL and AFL combined in 1970, the Duke was retired. Wellington Mara died in 2005, and the Duke football was brought back and used in the NFL in 2006 and ever since. I guess I add parenthetically that was to honor Wellington Mara. So that is some interesting history behind the Duke football, and it helps narrow the time frame of when Grandpa acquired the family heirloom. I love the story of how Grandpa got the football. I only remember him tell the ball's origin story one time, and I had no idea about its provenance. I'm sure I sat there slack-jawed in amazement as he recalled the tale of that pigskin. Well, we have a first photo here of the chapter. Caption reads, Garrett sits at Grandpa's bar circa 1987. He shuffles a deck of cards, probably playing some blackjack with Grandpa just out of the picture. In the background, displayed on the top shelf, you can see the Duke NFL football Grandpa caught. So, anyway, this is at the in the den of the country house of my grandparents, Grandma and Grandpa Hagen, and so Garrett's sitting at the bar, a tall bar stool. He's got like a white shirt with, it almost looks like a referee shirt. It's kind of weird. I think those were blue stripes, though, if I remember right. And he's got white pants on and cowboy boots, and his pants look like they're super short because you can see most of his tall, almost, up to his knee cowboy boots. Anyway, it's kind of weird. Kind of a weird fashion statement by Garrett back then when he was probably, I don't know, 12. or 14. I don't know. 1987. He's probably 14, according to that, the age of the photo that I put on there. But behind him on the wall, you can see part of the window and the curtains and the blind there. And then to the left of where the blinds are on the wall, there's a pretty heavy duty shelf. And it's got a bunch of the whiskey decanters on that shelf. And then in amongst the whiskey decanters, there's the NFL football, official NFL football that Grandpa caught at a Vikings game, sitting on a kicking tee, and the laces are out. So towards us, towards the photograph, the photographer there. So it's pretty cool photo. And below that, there's another shelf with a Canon, a little Canon bookmark, or maybe it's just a Canon little replica, like Civil War era Canon. And then below that on the shelf, there's a decanter, a couple decanters there. It's like a pyramid one, triangle one, and then like a, I don't know if it's a model or the decanter, but it's it looks like maybe the Titanic or something like that. It's a cruise ship or something up on the ledge of Grandpa's den there. So it's a classic photo. I'm glad I came across it. I don't know if I remembered that was in my mom's photo albums or not, or if I just happened to stumble across it and notice the football. And so that's still in the family with Garrett. And back to the chapter. I can't pinpoint the date or even the year, but as mentioned previously regarding the history of the Duke footballs, it had to be between 1960 and 1970. The Vikings were established in 1960, and they stopped using the footballs in 1970. So it fits the family history because that would be about the time when Grandpa would have made visits to his friend Arden, and I had parenthetically Arden was Grandma's cousin who lived in the Twin Cities, and Grandpa would attend some Vikings games with Arden. I've made the leap that Arden was Grandpa's compadre in his sports-related escapades. It may not be a fact, but Arden's character provides a point of convenient reference for the story. So here goes. I will recount the story to the best of my ability. The story of the Vikings football. So, as Grandpa was telling the story, he had the football in hand. With football in hand, Grandpa told how he came to own that football. I'm not even sure if anyone else was there listening to the story with me or how the topic of conversation turned to the football. For my money, this must be the ultimate Vikings game experience and story to go with it. Grandpa, as a guest of Arden, attended a Vikings football game at the old Metropolitan Stadium, which was an outdoor stadium. Arden had season tickets in the end zone with the idea that his seats would provide the chance to get a souvenir football. For field goals and extra points, the kickers would line up and boot the ball right toward the fans, but a net would be raised to prevent the loss of the ball. Still, an errant kick to the side of the net could deliver to the luckiest fan a cherished souvenir. Arden had explained the situation and the reason he had selected these seats well in advance to Grandpa, so they were both ready. Arden had been party to close calls in his time that he held those seats, but he had never gotten a football. Then it happened. On a kick towards the end zone in which they sat, the ball off the foot of the kicker missed badly, drifting wide left. For the story, Grandpa demonstrated how he stuck out his arm, up and out with a bare hand, snagged the football, immediately sticking it under his jacket. "Where did it go?" Arden shouted. "It was right here." Grandpa stood quietly for a moment, pausing for the adrenaline of the crowd to subside. Arden continued to look around wildly. "Did you see it? Where is it?" Grandpa sat down and without a word, sporting a grin, like that of the cat that swallowed a canary. Looked up at Arden while unzipping his coat a bit. He exposed part of the football, almost a little embarrassed that he was the one who got the treasured football. "Holy cow!" Arden yelled and slapped Grandpa on the back, unleashing a hearty laugh. Grandpa, not one for attention, tried to shrink away as Arden continued to celebrate loudly, drawing envious looks from the surrounding crowd. "We got it!" Arden would shout for anyone to hear. "We got it!" What a treasure. I'm glad we got the story and the ball still in the family. As for the Vikings, there's always next year. However, mark it down, the Vikings will be Super Bowl champions no later than 2025. I guarantee it. After that happens, I will explain how I knew in an updated version of this memoir. So, anyway, let's end the chapter with the usual quote, and then we'll talk about some of the chapter, and especially that last paragraph there. Here's the end of the chapter with the quote. Quote, "My life has always been one of good fortune. Things just seem to come my way," end quote. And that's a quote from Fred Cox, Minnesota Vikings kicker and Nerf football inventor. So it's just hard for me to believe that Fred Cox, the kicker for the Minnesota Vikings, and this is way back when it was a straight on kicker. It wasn't even the soccer style, the modern kicker now. So you don't, I guess maybe I should have done some research to talk about when the last straight on style kicker was. But they would have like a special shoe with a flat toe to kick the football. Now all the kickers kick it soccer style with the side of their foot. And it's not like the good old days. I guess it's better that way with this fancy soccer style kicking. But Fred Cox helped invent the Nerf football. That's just amazing. All the Nerf I think that kicked off the Nerf football line of toys and everything else that goes with the Nerf, like the Nerf guns that shoot those little soft rubber tipped little bullets and stuff. Anyway, it's chapter 19, the Vikings football. And I had the last chapter that I put in there that I thought that the Vikings would be Super Bowl champions no later than 2025. And I guess I just wanted to mention that's not going to happen since we're at 2025 now, and the Vikings aren't going to make the playoffs. And I don't see that in the future. So I don't think I'm going to even try to revise that to be before 2030. But I will say one of the reasons I said that is probably not a popular discussion point for many people, and probably not for this podcast specifically. But one of the reasons I had predicted they were going to win is because I think the NFL has a vested interest in franchises. And one of the things I thought would happen, or one of the things I thought happened with the New Orleans Saints after Hurricane Katrina, and when they basically wiped out the city of New Orleans. I'm not even sure if New Orleans ever has fully recovered, but the NFL stuck with New Orleans, and they basically handed them a free Super Bowl 5 years later in 2009 after the hurricane in 2000. Was it 2005? I think it was 2005. So I made this prediction that the Vikings would probably see a Super Bowl after the George Floyd debacle and basically the destruction of the portion of the Twin Cities in Minnesota. And Minnesota's become just a terrible place. It's an embarrassment to this country, specifically the Twin Cities and their terrible handling of everything they're doing there as far as the public goes. And I say that with no ill will towards the people that are trying to live there and that are just being overwhelmed by the politicians that have just decimated the city. Especially now what's going on to this current time frame where we are December 30th, 2025, and there's all this controversy over all the Somali fraud that's there, all this Somali immigrants they've just channeled into the Twin Cities and defrauding the government welfare system just pathetically. And I don't know what's happened to Minnesota. Minnesota's lost to me, and I guess I'll stop banging on Minnesota and at this point, but I have a lot more to say about it, but I'll save that for a different volume for the discussion. But stick a pin in this note that I feel bad for the people of Minnesota that are good citizens trying to live a good life in the Midwest and are just corrupted by some bad politicians that are just so power hungry and I guess woke. Is that what we want to say? That they're just too woke for their own good, oblivious to the common man that lives there and try to make a living in Minnesota. I don't really care if I ever go back there to go see the Vikings actually play or anything like that because it just seems like a complete joke. And I've lost faith in the NFL to actually try to pay back their franchises and their torn up cities and trying to provide a good, I guess, try to be a good business and part of the citizenship of the country by helping these tough incidents and smoothing them over with some good sports and distractions and championships. And I don't know. I think you know, it's the George Floyd situation where they've basically brought a drug addicted criminal to saintly status, putting him on the wall of the Twins baseball stadium in honor of him. It's like, in honor of what? Being a criminal that died from a drug overdose, and people that were involved can't even get any justice because of the fear of the backlash. I don't know. Minnesota needs just to hit the reset button, complete teardown and rebuild. I'm not talking about the Vikings here. I'm talking about the whole state and specifically the Twin Cities. So good luck, Minnesota. I'll try to keep being a fan, but you may have lost me. And it makes me feel bad because being a lifelong fan and being part of the family that's been a lifelong Vikings and Twins fan, it's just, I don't know. I guess time evolves and move on. That's okay. So anyway, anyway, there's my rant for that. And like I said, this is my continued psychotherapy. And we'll put a pin in that, and we'll get back to that in the future. But when some political commentary there that maybe I'll regret, but I've already probably been canceled so hard from the previous discussion about the Vikings, it won't even matter. So on to bigger and better things, more cheery things than Vikings football, especially. Guess you have to have hope, and that's, I go to my sign off. You got to stay positive. I think at some point, can you keep your positivity, or you just say, we're cutting ties with this, we're moving on to bigger and better pastures, bigger, greener pastures? We'll see. We'll see what happens. May have to have a reckoning in the near future when it comes to my sports choices. So I have I guess the part two, the second segment. The first segment was today's chapter of the Vikings football, but let's move on to the second segment. And I'm going to call it bluebird hunting because this is a category, a recurring segment where I like to say, I did something. And that was, I went out. There's been some bluebirds kind of wintering here around the walking trail where I walk in the morning and in the afternoon. And these bluebirds, when the sun hits them right, they're just just unbelievably just piercing blue when it gets on their wings and in their back. And so I decided I was going to try to go out and get some photos of that, try to get that blue, that really blue, just that great azure blue. I'm not sure exactly what, maybe I need to come up with a better descriptive adjective for that, the color of blue, the shade of blue, the hue of blue, whatever it is, the tone. But it was really striking. So I thought, and I couldn't get close enough with my iPhone. So I got my old Canon digital camera out. And I think that camera is it's probably 20 years old. It's probably from 2005, maybe 2006. And it's got a zoom lens. It's got a regular zoom lens, but then it goes from 1 to 12 is a regular zoom, and then it goes to digital zoom up to like 40 power. So I like to keep it at the regular digitals and not have it not digital. I like to keep the regular, just analog lens zoom because the photos stay so much clearer. So I was going to go out and try to use that camera with that zoom to try to get some bluebird photos. And I did. I had success. I took probably, I think it was probably 3 trips carrying that camera on my walk. And then, so it's probably over 2 days or 3 days. I can't remember exactly, but I took like 550 photographs with that camera, and I probably got maybe 30 pretty good photos. And I'll put them into the video podcast and on the YouTube video podcast part to share them. But so that's how that's why I put this category into. I did something where I made a plan to go do it, went out and did it, and accomplished it. So it was pretty cool. But there, it wasn't without incident. I was a casualty during this time of bluebird hunting for just photographs. Didn't harvest any bluebird birds other than their images. But I got off the trail, like the walking trail, in a couple of times, and I was just wearing my tennis shoes. Wasn't wearing boots, which is a mistake because there's like cactus all over. It looks kind of barren and everything when you're just kind of looking at it from the walking trail, but you get out there, there's a lot of this is the desert. This is Santa Fe, New Mexico. So this is a high desert, and there's everything out there that every plant out there wants to poke you or puncture you somehow in some way so that you stay away from the plants. And so I was walking and I took a cactus thorn right in through my shoe, just a little mesh nylon part of my shoe into one of my toes. And that hurt when it happened. Then I kind of forgot about it. And that night when I was in bed, rolling around trying to get comfortable, and that that toe, it snagged like the sheet because the thorn apparently had broken off and was still in my toe, and it hurt my toe, and I could feel it catch on the sheet. It's like, oh my god! So I had to get up, and sure enough, it was all red. I had a little red spot on the top of my toe, and had to get the tweezers, and I pulled out a little thorn. My foot, well, my toe, top of my toe. Kind of got a little irritated. I think I did put some like antibiotic ointment on it, and it just fine. It turned out fine. But I took a little picture of it, so I can put that picture on there too in this section. Probably, probably not the most appealing thing. I think that's what I noticed is that my feet look pretty. My toes are not attractive. If that's the thing, I don't know if anybody's toes are attractive, but if you start looking at them, especially if you take a picture of them and look at the picture close up because you're trying to look and see where the thorn hit you, it looks terrible. I don't know. They're just I don't I feel ashamed of my feet. What can I say? At least that toe. Otherwise, I think my feet are fine. Maybe it's just that one toe. Let's hope so. So anyway, that's that's the story of bluebird hunting, and I did something. So on to the next segment. This is segment 3, and this is a recurring segment too. And I think a couple podcasts ago, I had a failure because I was going to talk about one of the sections, and this is a newer segment that I just included, and it's called "Look What I Found." That previous one, I had that ready to go, and I think I said I was going to talk about it, but then I forgot because the podcast started going long. I think I got tired. But today, I am going to complete that mission and say, "Look what I found," segment number 3. And this is what I found on the street. I don't know if you can see it very good. Let me put it. This is it's a little cheap paintbrush. I don't know. I want to say they're probably $1 to $2 at like the discount store. But I found this on the street. I'm holding it up for those people that aren't watching the video I'm holding up the camera, and you can see that it's been run over multiple times. And there's the tire tracks on this side. You can see the tread of some tires that ran over it. But it's about a foot long, wooden handled nylon paintbrush. Probably the paintbrush part's probably a half inch to maybe 11/16 brush wise, little nylon bristles. And Angela actually used this when she's doing some of her craft stuff for my Christmas tree decorations. She had some pine cones. She was put some glitter on. So I think she put some glue on this, on the bristles, and then painted that on the pine cone, then threw some glitter on that. And so it was actually used. I found it, and she was hesitant to use it because I told her I found it on the street. And so she thinks everything's gross and she doesn't like to touch it. She's like a germaphobe. But I said, well, I found it quite a while ago, so I think all the germs are gone. It may just be dirty. You can see, and like I said, you can see the tire tracks where it got ran over a couple times, and some of the rock indentations from the pavement where that it took the brunt of it. So this side's got the rock indentations on the wood, and then even on the metal part, and then this side where the got run over by the tire, you can see the tire marks, and that's all smooth still. So it didn't get flipped over and run over and get the rock indentations, but look what I found. I know. I know the segments get more ridiculous all the time, but you're welcome. Hopefully it provides a laugh. I mean, it provided me a laugh at least. Which moves us on to segment number 4. And I'm going to hold off. This is the NFL update, and I'm not going to do the NFL update today. So you're spared that torture of me talking about games that literally no one cares about, I think, because this is the last game of the season. And there's maybe 3 games that actually mean something, maybe 4 that actually mean things to the playoffs. People are still trying to get playoffs. So I'm going to see, like I said, I'm going to see if I can get Garrett and AJ on the podcast tomorrow and to talk about the NFL. But I'm not going to talk about the NFL update today. And so we'll move on to part 2 of I did something. So this one this was on a previous podcast too, and I had said I was going to talk about it, and then I didn't because I lost track of time and I forgot what I was doing. Got too many notes on my page, but I'm remembering this time, so I want to talk about it. Unfortunately, I threw out the actual box, but I meant to save it. But I do have a photo of the box, so I'll add it to the video of the box for the people that watch the video of the box. So that this is what I did. I should say that I did something. Is I quote, put air quotes on it. If you're watching the video, you see me doing finger air quotes. I fixed my headlights, and what I did is I restored them. The plastic coating covering on the headlights had been so oxidized that they were getting so bad that I finally noticed they were just so dim driving at night. I said, I can't go on like this. I need to do something. So I had heard about people, fixing smoothing out taking the oxidation off, and I think people had said, oh yeah, use toothbrush and toothpaste. And that didn't seem very good. So I went on to YouTube and looked up some videos of what to do. And they recommended buying this headlight restoration kit. And I guess there's a bunch of different kinds, but I ended up buying a 3M headlight restoration kit. Purchased it on Amazon, ordered it, and I think it was around $17. I think I get the free shipping because I'm an Amazon Prime member. I'm sort of an elite member of society because I have Amazon Prime. Look at me, you can tell. But $17, and it's reading the directions. It said it takes like 40 minutes. I guess maybe if you know exactly what you're doing, you can get that done, both headlights in 40 minutes. But I bet it took me at least 40 minutes per headlight minimum. Probably more like an hour each headlight. And so all you need is your electric drill and the kit. And the kit comes with a little bit that you put in the drill, and it's a little circular bit, maybe like a 1.5-inch diameter circular thing. And then it's got you it's got some sandpaper grit. It's different, a little coarser than fine sandpaper, and you just slap those on there. And there's several of those, so you can use one. Then once it wears out, you put the other one on, and then a little plastic little plate for polishing. And then it comes with a little packet of clear coat wipes that you use for the final coating of the headlights. And so I did that, and it's amazing. It's night and day. And I'll post the videos on the YouTube video again of the before and after headlights. And it brought them back to just virtually brand new. And I'm sure I bet I would not be surprised if it improved my headlight brightness by it. I can't remember what it said in the on the box. Maybe it's 40% their improvement they thought. I don't know. But it was amazing, and it was pretty simple. I mean, I was able to I was able to do it, so I'm a simple man, but not a simpleton, so I can do you know, some minor repairs and things, not completely useless. So for $17 in a couple hours, it's an amazing thing, and it's very satisfying because you can see the progress. It's kind of scary too because when you put that first sandpaper attachment on your drill and you're trying to remove all that oxidation of the plastic on the outside, that layer, your headlights are completely clouded over with this roughness. Now suddenly it's like, oh my God, is this going to work? And you take out the heavier grit, and you put the little finer, and then it smooths it out better. It's like, wow, this is really happening. And then you get the fine little plastic polishing attachment on there, and you use some water and stuff to get that. And once that's done, that last step, I don't know, I probably spent 10 minutes on that final step on each one with that polishing. And it's just like shocking to see the difference it makes. And then finally it looks real good. And then you get those wipes out and put that clear coat on there. And it's like, it looks brand new. I don't know. If you want a sense of satisfaction when you have bad headlights like that, go ahead and do that yourself, because you will feel like you feel like you've performed a magic trick. Seriously. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's not much else out there that's so simple and give you such a sense of satisfaction and this visual sensation that you've done something. It's amazing. So highly recommend that if you have problems with your headlights. My truck is a Chevy Silverado 2016, so it's 10 years old, and they were bad. Those headlights, I let them go way too long. I should have done this probably a couple years ago, and now I know to do it and know how to recommend it to other people and get them. In fact, I know like Angela's nephew has got an older, like, Honda Accord, I think it is. And I noticed during Christmas, a Christmas gathering out at Angela's father's house out in the country, that that Angela's nephew's car was there. And I thought, I bet his headlights would be much better if he did that. So maybe I'll get that for a gift for him for his birthday coming up. I think his birthday's in February, so maybe we'll do that. So that's it. That's the I did something update, and I did something twice, I guess, now for this podcast. And so we're moving on. And this is the marketing section of the podcast. And hopefully you can see that if you're watching the video podcast, which I don't think anybody does, but if you are, you can see we have big news. Maybe you've noticed it right away if you're watching this from the very beginning and you're just like, hey, something looks different. A couple things look different. So over here, you can see that I found the poster for the Buffalo Lake book. And then you hold up the Buffalo Lake book for marketing purposes. You can see, here it is. This is the Buffalo Lake book, and there's the Buffalo Lake poster. I finally found it. And I don't even know. You talk about satisfaction, like I said, with the fixing the headlights, but it's funny how when you remember something that it seems impossible, that's like you don't know what happened or where you put something, and then when you finally remember where it is and you find it, it's like it's just so jolting. It's like such a good feeling that you've done that. That's what it's like for this poster for me, 'cause I went through and I looked at all the posters. I had them with me in South Dakota, so I had them all wrapped up and for the move back, and I pictured in my mind that this poster was there, and I could not find it. And then it's probably last week sometime, it just something just like a jolt from the blue. It's like, I wonder if it's behind one of the other posters. And so I've got all the posters unwrapped and started looking, taking them apart to see if I had put a poster in the, because I only have a limited number of frames, I guess. So if I put a poster, underneath another poster just so I could, not have to buy another frame. So I got down to two poster frames and posters left. And lo and behold, it was the second to the last one. It wasn't the last one, last poster I checked. It was second to last. And, they always say that it's always in the last place you look. And of course it is, because after you find it, that's the last place you look. So you stop looking. So you're not going to find it in another place. But in this case, it was the second to the last place I was going to look, because there was another poster and I never did check to see if there was another poster behind that. But I found two other posters that weren't the posters I was looking for, that were in the other frames. So it's really weird. Apparently I print out these big posters, and I think I got all these posters and all the frames at Walgreens, and they would have, once in a while, they'd have a deal where it was like 50% off for this. I think it's like a 24 by 36-inch poster in poster frame. And they're probably regular price, $30 for that. Up, it's like a photo that you just blow it up to poster size. So it's like $30 for that photo. But then you can get, once in a while, you get half price. So it's like I'd wait till I get those coupons, or those, they were having a sale. And for each book, then I would go and get that. And the posters were probably, I think, the same deal. They're probably like a $25 or $20 poster frame, and you can get it for half price once in a while. These, and as the sales would come up, so probably investing about $15 for the photo, and maybe another 15 for the frame. So $30 for a poster like that. Um, I always thought they were a pretty good deal. They're pretty cool. It's kind of like a conversation piece, if you will, about yourself. What can I say? I do have a bit of an ego, let's say, and there's my shrine to myself, that poster. But I wanted to talk about this too. I don't know if you can even tell what this is. It's a buffalo, quote unquote buffalo, but it's a bison. You can see that this is if if you if you look closely, you can see it looks like a monster. I have the eye turned red. This was actually a picture of a bison from, I think it's is it Wind Cave National Park in South Dakota? We drove through there. Angela and her kids and me were, I think it was for my parents' 50th anniversary. We drove up to South Dakota and spent a week up celebrating their anniversary up at Roy Lake State Park, Roy Lake State Park in South Dakota, northeast South Dakota. You know, 50, 60 miles from Groton, South Dakota, where I grew up. And so when we go through Wind Cave, they have a bunch of bison. They have a herd of bison out there in National Park, and they're all near the road that day. So Angela was trying to take some pictures. I'm not sure if Angela took this picture or if I took this picture, but it was with that same camera I was talking about with my bluebird hunting. That was the classic. Great. It was a great camera. It's still a pretty good camera. So we were in the car, and the all the bison, they're just kind of like in the shoulder of the road, in the ditch of the road. And so Angela's like trying to get a picture of it out the window, and she's like, "I'm gonna get out and see if I get a picture of it." It's like, no, you're not getting out, because you might be able to get away with it. They might not attack you, but they do. They routinely attack people. Like in Yellowstone, you'll see these videos. I don't remember when that was. This was several years ago, when some lady got attacked by a bison. she's trying to get too close for a photo. I don't know if maybe she was trying to take a selfie with it like right next to, I don't know, but I think the bison got its horn up underneath her pants, and I think it got her underwear, and I think it I think it tore her underwear out from underneath her pants. Everything was classic video that got posted to the internet. It was like a viral video way back, several years ago. But if you want some entertainment, go just probably Google um, bison human interactions, and how people are stupid enough to go up to these animals, wild animals, and see if they can take their picture, like a selfie with them, like, you know, 1 foot away. It's like, I don't recommend it. And I guess my own experience with them is deer hunting out in this back in Falk County, South Dakota, and Grady had permission to hunt from this guy that had this pasture, and he had bison, and that's what he was. One of his farm products was raising bison. I remember trying to cross these pastures, and I was always very tentative, looking at them from a long ways back, because they can really run too. You don't think they can run? Their giant beasts, 2,000 pounds. They can run way faster than a human being can. So, not saying that you know, well, if you do have an interaction with them, be very careful. You should always be scared of something like that. You should always be a little scared. You don't have to be like terrified, frightened of it, and cower, but just keep an eye on it and watch what you're doing. Know your surroundings so that if they do have an encounter, that you can get away from or protect yourself, because you don't know what they're going to do. They're crazy wild animals. They could just stomp you and kill you with the flick of their head and their neck, and gore you with that big, huge horns. So anyway, there's a long, I guess, diatribe about bison and Buffalo Lake and what people should mess with wild animals, basically. That's a pretty good marketing segment for you. So there we go. That's got the Long Hollow poster down. We got the Buffalo Lake poster up. So once every podcast, we're going to talk about Buffalo Lake for a while till we get the next one up, which the next one is going to be Big Coulee. So anyway, I designed this based on a photo that we took from Wind Cave National Park where the bison were there, and photoshopped this photo of a big, huge bison bull. I think it was a bull. Pretty sure it was a bull. I mean, the cows actually have horns too, but I think this was a bull. Anyway, that's it. Again, like I said, I do like this cover. It's kind of an abstract image and photo on this, but with that red eye, it really kind of looks like a monster to me. So I like that for the cover. And again, I'll flash this up. This is the Long Hollow book. It's got the black and red and white, and kind of monstery with the blood droplets on there. That's not really blood. That was just watercolor paint that I dribbled on there to help make that cover. And of course, I think we talked about this. This is an actual existing a deer skull with antlers that was killed on Grady's ranch way back almost 20 years ago. So there you go. If you judge a book by a cover, this book's great. This book's great. So I'm judging books by their cover. And actually, if you read them too, they're probably pretty good. So way too long on that section, but I was very excited to see that I found that poster myself. You don't know how exciting that was. And I do have to mention a couple things, because I have a error in my notes here when I have another section for an NFL update, because apparently I really wanted to update the NFL, but we're not doing that. So I had 2 segments talking about NFL update on my notes for the show, but we're not doing that today. So those of you watching the video podcast, you may see a new addition to the wall of the display wall behind me. And I'm going to see if I can click this real quick, and you can see. Check that out. This is a custom made Vikings sign logo that Esteban, Angela's son, made for me for Christmas, and he made this little wooden thing and got this I don't know if it's a decal or print of the Vikings logo, and then he put these digital lights around it so you can change the lights with purple. It was supposed to be gold. Here's a different colored purple, and this is a lighter purple. This is the purple I like. But it's got these digital lights, and you can have these different colors that go through. So cool gift from Stevan there that he gave me for Christmas. He handmade. Dark purple. No, let's do gold for the rest of the show. Purple and gold. Oh, and then Esteban also made this cool thing, and I put this piece of paper in so maybe you can see this better with the camera. But he made a logo for me from for my podcast in my memoir. So, and then he had it printed on this little this glass, like a beer glass or pint glass. So I put this piece of paper there so you could see it a little better. So it says the Colonel and the Kid, and there's the Colonel. There's the kid, and there's some like ducks flying up, and it's like in a pond, some cattails and stuff there. So I guess he had used the Chat GPT or AI to help him come up with this little image, and then he had it printed on this glass for me. So pretty pretty awesome gift giver, that kid. I don't know, it's amazing. So thank you, Esteban, if you listen to the podcast. Really appreciate that. It's very, very thoughtful and generous. Come up with these gifts. Vikings in the background and little glass. Man, I feel I feel special. Thanks again, Stev. Anyway, what else? I think we're almost at an hour. So I think I have one more section here, and then we're going to wind it down. So when I was preparing my notes for this, I was listening to the Classic Rewind Sirius XM station, and I turned on the station, and they were having the Classic Rewind's top 1,000 songs for I don't know, just their New Year's Eve type special. So they're going through all the songs. Well, I don't know when it started, but they were on number 267, and it was Eddie Money, Baby Hold On. And then you might say, Baby Hold On to Me, whatever, it's the actual name of the song is Baby Hold On. And I thought, man, Eddie Money. And I went through my music library and then I Googled his songs to see if I was missing any that I thought were, worthwhile. But he has like 7 songs, including Baby Hold On. Then I had 6 more that I got from my library. I thought, this guy's got some good songs. I mean, really, to me, that classic era. So with Baby Hold On, 2 Tickets to Paradise, Shaken, Think I'm in Love, Take Me Home Tonight, I Want to Go Back, Walk on Water. So I had to look up and see, I Googled to see if he was in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and he's not. And it's just one word. It's a travesty that he's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, and he passed away just in the last couple years, but he had a huge impact on the pop culture. Even late, even just before a couple years, in the last few years before he even passed away, he was in I don't know, it was a Progressive Insurance or insurance commercial talking about they used his song and he was a travel agent. These people were, I don't know what what the whole premise was, but there was a family of 4 in there and he was acting as a travel agent, and he turns his back and he goes through like a file cabinet, and he comes out and he holds up got 2 tickets to paradise. And it was like, the family's looking at him like, we have 4 people. It was just, I can't remember the exact, I think it was for Progressive Insurance. And it was one of those, that theme that they had where they had like some serious announcer talking about this comparative thinking or analogy or metaphor for whatever it was about how the insurance compared to whatever. It's like this, but I was very disappointed to find out that Eddie Money is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I think if I remember right, you can Google this. I should have confirmed this in my research, but I believe that his real name was Eddie Mahoney, and his dad was a cop in New York City, and I think he was going to try to be a policeman, or if he, I don't think he ever was a policeman. He was thinking about becoming a policeman, but then he was working on his music career, and then his music career kind of got enough steam that he kind of abandoned that to that following in his footsteps of his father. So I guess I'm just the question that I had in my notes here is Eddie Money underrated? And the answer is yes, because I think that people don't realize that he's got, like 7 really, really quality songs under his belt. As far as I'm concerned, maybe some people like a little more, and they have the more Eddie Money fans they have a little more length and breadth to their list of their Eddie Money songs. But I'd say 7 high quality songs, and he's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So underrated, definitely yes. I'd like to see him in the Hall of Fame. Um, don't know if he'll ever make it. And people say, "Oh, it's not the Hall of Pretty Good; it's the Hall of Fame." It's like, yeah, I don't know. I could take some umbrage with some of their selections. Even like, who was it? Dolly Parton got in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Really? I mean, what what's their qualification for being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Yeah, Country Music Hall of Fame, easy. But I know she had the crossover hit with Islands in the Stream with Kenny Rogers, but I don't know. So if Eddie Money's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but Dolly Parton's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, we might have some a clear point of uh, argument and discrepancy there. So anyway, that's it. That's how I'm going to end the podcast for today. Let you really let that sink in. You can really think about it, whether Eddie Money should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And if you don't think he should be, then maybe you should stop listening to my podcast. Because if we have that big of a disagreement on that level, then maybe you disagree with everything I say, which would not surprise me. And I I really miss you as a listener if you do, because I don't think there's that many listeners. You probably really make a dent in the percentage of people that are listening, because this is a low number. And if you take away, the numerator and denominator, it's a math thing. Anyway, please, I take it back. Don't stop listening because if we disagree on Eddie Money. Anyway, entering for the new year, like I said, New Year's Eve. So I want you to remember these words. So be assertive, be positive, be proactive. It's going to be start of a new year. Start that glass half full with the new year. Keep that glass half full. Positive outlook in life. And what can I say? Stay positive. Knock and the door will be open to you. Seek and you will find. Ask and you shall be given. So that's it for this podcast. And I'll probably be back tomorrow with another one. But in the meantime, have a good evening. Have a good New Year's Eve. Talk to you on New Year's Eve tomorrow. And have a good evening.